Time now for Lions Central. Here's Brandon Alisaglu and Nick Kostora.
Welcome into Lions Central Radio. I am Nick Kostora alongside Brandon Alisaglu, and no, I'm not alongside Brandon Alisaglu. Brandon, where are you coming to us from this week?
This week I'm coming to you from beautiful Riviera Maya down in Mexico. I'm on a little vacation, and I got to tell you, nobody could question my fanhood. In order to, so I have a Sunday ticket thing, streaming that I bought from DirecTV. Get ready about 20 minutes before the game, set up the TV. I even brought my little Apple TV so I can hook it up to the regular television. And, of course, it tells me that I can't play because it's outside the U.S., which, makes all kinds of sense since the Internet is totally different in foreign countries, right? But so then I ran around the beach trying to find my girlfriend. Eventually just hopped on one of these little cart things they have, ended up at a sports bar, and ended up bribing one of the bartenders to put the game on the computer that was behind the bar and set that on top of the bar so I could watch it illegally. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Brandon, I got to tell you, I'm not sure your dedication was warranted this week. The team didn't really earn it from you. It would have been a good week to be out of the country and not witness this football game, because I'll just go ahead and be honest with you. We didn't tape the show yesterday. We ended up taping it today. I thought I'd have time to calm down and let my anger subside. I'm more mad today after mulling everything over and looking at this loss to Tampa Bay. I'm more angry than I thought I was going to be coming into the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, you seem to have even more of an edge to your voice than when we spoke yesterday. I didn't even think that was possible, since you don't really come across as too hostile, unless, of course, we're talking about maybe Stafford or David Akers.
Yeah, don't get me going on David Akers. He gets a week off this week. I got a lot of things to get into. I kind of want to take over the Bad News Brandon segment. We'll get to that, but look at this game with Tampa Bay. It was supposed to be an easy win, right? This was when the Lions are at home and they were supposed to have it. And Tampa Bay tried to give it to us at least 5 different times with missed field goals or just bad possessions. And all we did was turn the ball over. What did we have? 5 turnovers in this game. We had that blocked punt.
5 freaking turnovers.
Yeah, Detroit they found ways to lose this football game. Tampa Bay wanted us to win this game. Every time they got the ball with their second-string rookie quarterback and their third-string running back, they tried, whether it was Calvin Johnson or Matthew Stafford or Chris Durham, everybody was turning the ball over. Everyone wanted to lose this game, and now we look like the worst division league. Looks better than what Detroit is doing right now, having lost 2 consecutive games to teams that they were expected to beat.
Well, yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. This team, it's shocking that they're still winning the division. And if it wasn't for injuries and the fact that Chicago really is mediocre, they would not be sitting on top of this division. The 5 turnovers, it's phenomenal how they were able to pull them off. I mean, we talked yesterday a little bit, and while I was trying to bribe the bartender to be able to put the game on that TV, I missed the first interception apparently that happened in the red zone. But other than that, there were really only 4 bad throws by Stafford that I charted during the game. So it wasn't that. I mean, the Chris Durham one where he's going out of bounds, and then it was like he was trying to save the ball in a basketball game to his teammate. I don't even know what that was. And then Calvin Johnson. You're Calvin Johnson. You're Megatron. Like, if you occasionally don't come up with a catch when 5 guys are hanging on you, I'm going to be a little disappointed, but I'll let it go. That, with the game on the line, and you just hand the ball to the other team, I mean, for all of the faults that Detroit had, and I don't know the stats, I'm not trying to go Brian Billick on you on this one, but they very well could have been the first team to win a game after turning the ball over 5 freaking times. And it just, I don't know what they were doing. And, well, to make matters worse, or actually, I guess, par for the course, you want to put it that way, those corners, wow. I mean, we knew they weren't good, but Tyquan Underwood, that's who you're getting schooled by now? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tyquan Underwood, I don't know if our listeners have heard of him. I would assume you haven't because he's Tyquan Underwood. Chris Houston and Rasheed Mathis were embarrassed by this guy all game. He went for over 100 yards. Was it just the one touchdown or two? I don't remember. It's all a blur.
He had two.
The point is, yeah, okay, I thought so. The point is, two corners. Chris Houston is supposed to be a starting level cornerback in this league. He's proving week in and week out that he's not. Rasheed Mathis can't keep up with Taekwon Underwood. I don't care even if our offense didn't have 5 freaking turnovers, which they did. Our secondary got embarrassed by Taekwon Underwood. How does that even happen?
I'm not even. The first catch was pretty phenomenal, if I'm not mistaken. And I also think Mathis was. Did he get flagged on that one too? But
yeah,
the second one, that was just terrible coverage. It was that long one that won the game. If Vincent Jackson has 2 catches and 60 yards and no touchdowns, the Buccaneers should not win. They just shouldn't win. But
and
you know who didn't have a
22
turnover?
rushing yards. 22 rushing yards to go with 60 yards for Vincent Jackson, and we don't win the football game.
Yeah, exactly. But I do have to at least point something out. Reggie Bush said he's not going to fumble anymore, and, well, by gosh, he did not turn the ball over. So, well, kudos to that, I guess. And since you brought it up, I mean, that's as much optimism as you guys are going to get out of Nick today. I suggest something strong while you listen to the show today. We probably should have led off with some kind of Surgeon General's warning, but I'm personally going to get another margarita after this one. But as you pointed out, there were a few positives from the game. The first being that rushing defense is absolutely legitimate. I mean, 22 rushing yards. Granted, Bobby Rainey probably isn't getting outfitted with a Hall of Fame yellow jacket quite yet, but still, holding any NFL offense to only 22 yards on the ground, you got to be encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take it for granted. It's just expected at this point. It really shouldn't be. We need to be happy with what we were getting out of this defensive line week in and week out, holding everybody under 50 yards. And then, yeah, Reggie Bush, I guess, had a decent day on the ground, and hello, Nate Burleson. Welcome back to the field with over 70 yards and a touchdown. Okay, fine. There are some positives. If you really want to dig, you can find them. I'm just too mad to even try and look at positives right now just because of how this team performed as a whole. If they're in there, Brandon, go ahead and find them. Try and find some optimism. It's not for me this week.
Well, I can totally understand that, and maybe I'll try to FedEx you a margarita from down here or something like that. But the one thing I can say is that I did have the most impressive. I didn't have a most impressive player, although I guess probably could have gone with Nate Burleson, considering the effort he had. But personally, it's that rushing defense as a whole. It's everybody. It's the front four. It's those linebackers. Levy, Sullick, they're getting guys to the ground. They are not letting you get anywhere. To me, that was the most impressive facet of that game.
You know, when I was trying to figure out my most impressive, the only thing I could think of was, I'm not happy. Maybe we can make Brandon a little bit more happy, because I went with his Ezekiel Ansah shot. He was pretty much the only bright shot that I really found with it. He had 2 sacks in this game. So, hey, you know what, Brandon? The floor is yours. Go ahead and talk about how great Ansah was.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing when you hold on to a love as pure and wholesome as this, and you watch it blossom into this beautiful 2-sack performance that I assume he's going to replicate and probably outperform every week from here on in. I'm thinking minimum over the last 5 games, 15 sacks. Is that unreasonable?
I think that might be a lowball estimate based on this game. I'm thinking 20, 25. I don't know. You know, maybe we should be optimistic. No, he played a really good game. It was consistent. It wasn't just those 2 sacks. He was consistently throughout this whole game. So if you need to find the silver lining somewhere in this, guys, go ahead and put it on Ezekiel Ansah's shot, because he did play well. So there you go, Brandon.
Oh, I love it, and I appreciate the fact that maybe it's the vacation mood in me that's kind of, and all my natural optimism that I come with every week, this sunny disposition that I have is starting to run off on you a little bit. But unfortunately now, we're going to have to turn to the segment of the show that somehow I've become known for. I guess that somewhere deep inside me is this dark streak of pessimism, and everybody seems to be jumping on. But the bad news, Brandon, and the most disappointing player
Time now
for me.
Bad news, Brandon. Bad news of the week.
For me, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this, my boy, but it's Stafford. I know I only charted 4 bad throws, but it wasn't just that. It looked like there were bad reads. He just didn't seem to know where he was going. There were lapses in concentration. The not seeing the underneath defensive back or linebacker that led to 2 interceptions. That one in the red zone to Calvin. Was that in the second? That might have been the fourth quarter. It was at least the second half. And the one that they returned right before halftime. I mean, either one of those changed the outcome of this game, quite frankly. We all know I'm on board with Stafford. I think he is a franchise quarterback in the making. He's so young. He's put up these ridiculous numbers. But those are Cam Newton from last year type of plays. I don't know what is going on there. But when he sees the tape, or they showed a couple of shots of him yesterday, extremely frustrated with a towel over his head. Again, a la Cam Newton. That's just a weird coincidence, I hope. And throwing the cup of Gatorade, he just didn't look like he was there.
The entire passing offense didn't look like it was there. Stafford, I guess, if you want to look at his final numbers, I try not to, but he went 26 of 46. So they aired it out early, often, and throughout the entire game, and no one showed up in this thing other than, I guess, Nate Burleson. But everyone else made mistakes at some point. Lament Stafford. He didn't play up to the level that we expect or needed out of him, but really everyone in the entire passing game is to blame for this one. So, yeah, if you have to single out one guy, he's the quarterback, he's the leader of that offense, he's the guy that could have turned it around, but really everyone was making mistakes. This was just an awful game from the entire passing unit. Even when Calvin Johnson has a bad game, you know things are wrong. Something down the line went terribly wrong when Calvin Johnson is fumbling the ball near the goal line instead of hauling it in for a touchdown. So, yeah, the bad news, Brandon. You're right on the head with this one. The entire passing offense, boo to you guys. Before we get into the around the division segment, which is just going to be some more fun lambasting of this Detroit team, we want to switching up our format. We're going to be moving to a live video show on YouTube. So you're going to get to see our pretty mugs, and if you don't want to do that, you can still listen to us on iTunes and everything, but just try and remember, next week we're going to be doing a live show on YouTube. Now, Brandon, around the division, what happened around this division this weekend? And it was pretty exciting with that Minnesota and Green Bay contest.
As I say, there was mediocre sister kissing and just a beatdown in St. Louis. There was no... Chicago was never in that game, it felt like. A Bears fan had beaten me to that bar, so they had been able to claim the outside computer, which, of course, started. I might have said Ziggy Ansah 3 or 4 times to myself in order to enjoy the fine fruits of this country. But they're not good. I'm quite positive now that the Bears are not good. I know Detroit only has a half game on them, but are you actually even remotely scared of Chicago catching Detroit at this point?
What makes this more frustrating? I think that's what actually makes this more frustrating, Brandon, is that Chicago doesn't have their quarterback right now, Cutler. Green Bay doesn't have their quarterback, Rodgers, and yet Detroit still refuses to pull away in this division. Chicago isn't who they should be right now. They just got blown out by St. Louis, who is a mediocre football team, and Green Bay is tying with the Minnesota Vikings. Tying with Minnesota in Green Bay? That's not the Packers. So, no, I'm not scared of Chicago. I'm not scared of Green Bay, but hell, I'm not scared of Detroit either. No one wants to win this division at this point. I don't even know how you pick a favorite. I guess it's how quickly does Aaron Rodgers come back, and will Green Bay have time? You can't be confident in any team in this division to win it right now.
No, I'm not. Well, I think that leads us directly into our next segment, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, we wanted to break down some questions that must be asked about this team. And so we're going to go ahead and alternate these in between each other. And I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it on you. What was originally going to be asked of me, I want to know, are the Lions still the favorite to win this division?
No, I don't think there is a favorite to win this division, because you can't say, oh, Detroit is for sure going to go out and win 3-4 more games and secure this thing. There is no favorite right now. The favorite is who gets healthier quick enough. Is it Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, or does Jay Cutler come back and do something miraculous in Chicago? I don't know. I think it's whoever stays the healthiest, because if Green Bay and Chicago Chicago are without their quarterbacks for more time, then I think Detroit stumbles into a division victory right now. But if Aaron Rodgers is back as soon as the game after Thanksgiving, then I think Green Bay is going to take this division. So are the Lions the favorite? That hinges on if Rodgers is back in 2 weeks or not for me.
Well, and that's fair enough. I kind of agree with you there that I don't think Detroit's the favorite anymore. I think this is Aaron Rodgers' division until somebody takes the crown from him.
Yeah.
The Packers didn't exactly do a lot to keep their place in the division, but nobody else did anything to kind of push them out. This is Aaron Rodgers' division. If he comes back this week, which we'll get into later, I think I'd put the Lions' chances less than a third at this point.
No, that's just, I don't even want to get into what their chances will be if A-Rod shows up in there. But so, all right, Brandon, my turn to pose one to you here, and I think it's one you're going to enjoy quite a bit, and that's, do you think the pass rush in this game against Tampa, which was one of the few bright spots, was it a fluke, or do you think this is the start of something good?
Well, I've said this a few times before. This team isn't getting to the quarterback as much as we would like. They're not closing out those sacks at a rate that we would expect of a defense with all these kinds of horses up front. But the thing is, they are creating a lot of pressure. They have been for quite some time. They're not that far behind, the top leaders in the league as far as hurries and things like that. I think that this was a sign of what they can do. Now, can they do it consistently? That's obviously going to be the big question. Because I think Ziggy Ansah only has 15 sacks in him for the rest of the season, I'm not likely to say that they're going to become they're not going to become the 49ers from a couple years ago. But they are going to continue putting pressure on quarterbacks. They are going to get a few sacks here and there. Overall, I think it was just kind of the team kind of breaking through and getting the tangible stats, as opposed to us just kind of having to look at the abstract and say, no, they're still getting pressure. It just isn't showing up on the stat sheet.
No, and that's not just you with rose-tinted glasses. There's hope for this defensive line just because there's so much talent on it. So, be optimistic. If you're going to be optimistic about anything with this team, this pass rush might finally be coming around. So I see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, and that's just how I feel. I trust trust that front seven to handle their business, whether it's against the running game or to create pressure. But Nick, can we trust anybody in the secondary?
We cannot trust any of our corners. I think that's been proven every single week of this season. If you're going to trust someone, and I think Glover Quinn you can trust, and that's barring injury setbacks, which he's had a few minor ones. But when Glover Quinn is on the field and healthy, I think he's still an upper echelon safety in this league. I think he is the only guy in secondary that I have real faith in when he's on the field. Everyone else, they're lambs to the slaughter at this point, man. Whoever is lining up against him, it seems to be taking him to town. Chris Houston is maybe a dime nickel spot guy at this point. He is not a starting cornerback. Can you honestly say any different? Do you think Chris Houston is a starting cornerback in the NFL right now?
Unfortunately, I think you're probably right as far as that assessment. The thing is when you look around, there aren't that many good corners. It's a very difficult position that's only been made more troublesome thanks to all the rules that basically say you can't look at receivers. You kind of have to close your eyes and just get that's where the ball's going to be because you're not allowed to do anything about it anymore.
Yeah.
He's not a CB1. He shouldn't be the guy that you rely on to handle the bigger assignments. He's just not that good. He's a average to below average cornerback. So saying that he should be a nickelback, I can't really argue with that. Rasheed Mathis has definitely performed better this year, and he's still had quite a few moments where he's getting torched for touchdowns. I think Glover Quinn was a good call. Louis Delmas drives me nuts because he makes too many of those flying around like a missile with his head down, not paying attention to anything, trying to blow somebody up, and he misses. That Des Bryant play from a month ago, it's just I still see it in my dreams at night. It's just the quintessential, I just want to throw something at Louis Delmas play. Well, maybe not at him, at least at the TV. But there just isn't anybody back there that makes me feel good about what they're doing.
No, absolutely not. And even with Glover Quinn, again, it's health dependent. So you can't trust the secondary for anything at this point. This is a big one, which we kind of let fall by the wayside earlier in the season, I think, but now it's kind of coming back to the forefront, and that's Jim Schwartz. Is this guy, is he back on the hot seat at this point? I know the 6-3 start kind of got everyone excited about this team, but now here we are back at 6-5, and does the seat start warming back up for Schwartzy at this point?
Well, before the season, I was saying that I don't think that Schwartz is going to be gone pretty much regardless, barring a 3-13 complete disaster. This season, if say they go 8-8, which I still think is unlikely, but say they do go 8-8, that's kind of something that we said, hey, that he would get another year if that happens. I think he's shown enough this year. The team isn't making as many stupid mistakes, as many. The mental lapses aren't things that can be traced back to coaching. This turning the ball over thing, I'm not entirely sure how you fix that, except the players need to focus on what they're doing, and for God's sakes, hold on to the ball. For me personally, I do not think that he should be let go. I do not think he should necessarily be put back on the hot seat, but I can understand why it's going to be a topic of discussion going forward.
I can guarantee it'll be a topic on this show, just because I'll bring it up, because I think he should be on the hot seat, especially if this team somehow, some way does not make the playoffs this year. That's a question that is going to come up time and time again. I don't want to already start looking forward to next season, folks. I know this season is still in full swing and playoff race, but yeah, Jim Schwartz's seat, I'm not comfortable with it at all right now. But gosh, I know it's early for that, Brandon. I'm sorry. I had to get it off my chest.
You do what you got to do, Nick. I understand you have a vendetta against Jim Schwartz and his family, and if you want to use this show to put it out there, fine, so be it. But anyways, let's move on to the last question. I'm sorry, I had to pause or take a step back there. Wondered if I just went a little too far in accusing you of these things, because you've been very hostile lately. I'm debating about sending you to a therapist. I'm just not sure what to do anymore. But anyways,
question.
Are the playoff hopes gone for Detroit if they lose to Green Bay this week?
Yes. Absolutely. For me, they are. This is the second of two straight home games, and a schedule that just a couple weeks ago looked pretty darn easy down the stretch is starting to look at least mildly difficult. After Green Bay, we're going at Philly, who is resurgent, versus Baltimore, who is suddenly competing for that second AFC wildcard spot that a 4-6 team is going to get. And then we've got the Giants and the Vikings. So those two, well, there are no easy wins now. We see that after Tampa. So, yeah, if we don't take care of business against Green Bay this week, which we definitely should against what we're expecting is Matt Flynn, put a fork in them. At 6-6, this team and their momentum and their productivity and their mindset, I don't think they're mentally strong enough to come back from 3 straight losses and make the playoffs. No, I'll say put a fork in them. They're done if they lose on Turkey Day. Well,
that's fair enough. I'm not. A lot of it's still going to depend on Aaron Rodgers. Collarbones, when you break those are something that become quite fragile and take a lot of time to really strengthen back up. At least from experience I've seen in my childhood with friends who have broken them like 4 times in a year because they just haven't quite gotten back to where they should be. If they do lose this week, I think it's definitely on life support. I'm not going to say that it's completely gone because I remember the Wayne Fonts lines where they win like 9 games in a row or something ridiculous to end up at 10-6, still make the playoffs. See it happen. Mm-hmm. I can't believe those are the glory years, but they are, at least in my life. Yeah, they're definitely not going to be in a good place. They need to win this game because there's not going to be a wild card. That we're pretty much we're assured of that. There's no way Detroit's catching Carolina or possibly New Orleans or San Francisco
or Arizona.
Whoever it may be. Yeah, Arizona is looking real tough these days. But regardless, they need to take business against Green Bay. And, well, that leads us right into our Thanksgiving Day preview here. I guess let's get the ball rolling here. As we already said, the Packers had a tie with the Vikings this week. And, well, your boy Matt Flynn came in to relieve Scott Tolzien. He looked all right.
Oh, Matt Flynn's my boy now. Yeah. No, Matt Flynn is every Detroit Lions fan's boy because we're the only team that he's done anything against. We got him his big payday, right? Well, at least this time it's at Ford Field instead of his comfortable snow of Lambeau where he torched us. Because we don't want to see Aaron Rodgers. A collarbone injury, if he's on the field, it means he's good enough to go, so he'll be a full Aaron Rodgers. So let's hope that there's no in between with the collarbone.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Plus, it's not it's not a muscle strain. It's not one of those things where it's going to be a nagging injury. It's not a hamstring where you can kind of feel it when you're pushing off to throw or run or whatever you might be doing. It's if he's on the field, well, Detroit's going to need to get after and hit him and make him real uncomfortable and skittish back there because we all know what Aaron Rodgers can do. He can walk into Ford Field on Thanksgiving Day and beat them. Even with him, I still have a little confidence, but yeah, the confidence poll later could be way down if Rodgers comes back.
Yeah, exactly. So if Rodgers is on the field, don't think we're getting a 60 or 70% Rodgers like we did with Cutler just a few weeks ago. Whoever's playing quarterback for the Packers is at 100%. Let's hope it's Matt Flynn because he's not half the quarterback Rodgers is, and we can really get to him. And the reality is, even this game at Ford Field on Turkey Day, Detroit hasn't won this game since 2003. So it doesn't matter who we're playing or what the matchup actually is. They haven't won, and it was against Green Bay, so there's that. But it's been 10 years since Detroit's won on Turkey Day, and it's at home every year. So they've lost a critical home game every year for 10 years. I don't know how to explain it, but the backup quarterback that Green Bay is going to be trotting out. So yeah, we have to be careful with it. I think there are still, and after this Tampa Bay game, I know it's tough to say it, but I think there are still mismatches in this game, and plenty of them. And for me, one that I wanted to point out is whoever's at receiver for the Packers, whether it be Jarrett Boykin or James Jones or Jordy Nelson, against our corners, it's just I don't trust our corners to do anything, even against second-tier receivers like a Jarrett Boykin or a still hampered James Jones who's not at 100%. I want to see if Matt Flynn does what he did to us 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and torches our cornerbacks and just lights up the field. I think it's entirely possible. I'm not comfortable with it. I think our corners are in for a tough day, whether it's Rodgers, Flynn, Tolzien, Wallace, or whoever else lines up at QB for Green Bay.
Well, it's nice that at least you kind of went a little more specific than I did, because I don't know if it's because I'm being fat and lazy on vacation, or I'm just, lazy in real life, which is very possible. But for me, the mismatch, the Green Bay offense against the Detroit defense, I don't really have any faith that they can stop an Aaron Rodgers-led attack, or even a Matt Flynn-led attack. I am really concerned about that defense holding up. I think that Lacy, obviously Eddie Lacy has proven himself to be worthy of, was it a second-round selection, I think? I don't know. I don't think that he's going to. Yeah, he was. All right, good. So I got that right at least. But I don't think that he's going to blow up against this tough Detroit front seven. But we've already seen what Green Bay can do on offense against this defense. They put up 22 points in Green Bay. I'm really, really nervous about that mismatch. But that also takes me right into my important matchup for this game. I'm going with B.J. Raji against the interior of that Detroit offensive line. Stafford needs a pocket. He needs some time back there. He needs to get his head right. I don't know what the issue is, like I've said, but he struggles with inside pressure, just like a lot of quarterbacks, especially the younger ones, which is something we really need to see Stafford kind of get away from. And it's usually because they can't take that step forward. They've got to kind of find a creative way to get the ball out, which with his sidearm throws should be easy. I don't understand that. But the inside pressure was there on that last interception, and it's just something he struggles with. But the offensive line, especially the interior against B.J. Raji, needs to give him some time to exploit a vulnerable secondary in Green Bay.
Yeah, I believe the first time around against Green Bay, I went with the exact same thing. Raji against our interior offensive lineman. It's a huge matchup. It's one that's going to go overlooked because people don't pay attention to it often enough. So yeah, that's obviously a big one. I'm going to go a little bit off the radar here, and I'm going to go with the entire Lions offense against fumbleitis, turnovers, whatever you want to call it. We're playing against ourselves a lot lately, folks. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're pulling plaques bursts on ourselves. We can't have it. So we have to be able to control the football, control the clock. Hey, yeah. You like that? But
that joke took me a while to get in. I didn't understand.
It's in there, and I hope our listeners got it too. I love to make fun of Spartans whenever I can find a way to wedge it in there. But the point is that we turn the ball over, and it costs us drives. We did it twice in the red zone this past week. So, yeah, it's a huge matchup in and of itself, is just hanging on to the football, because when Detroit does hang on to the football and move the football down the field, they put points on the board. They're a good offense. They have so much talent, so they're playing against themselves half the time, Brandon. The Packers' secondary is just as bad as Detroit's, really. They have a decent front seven, but if Detroit is passing the ball like they should be, they can have a field day. But I'm not confident enough in this passing game right now to say that they will have a field day against Green Bay's secondary.
Well, and that's fair enough. You seem to be lacking that sunny optimism that you usually bring every week, because I've kind of harped on for the last 2 weeks. I don't really know what to do. Maybe we need to go to couples therapy. Yeah. Oh gosh, negative numbers aren't allowed, just so you know. But from the secondaries, we obviously know they're overmatched. But let's go ahead and put in for the X factor. I'm going to go out of the front seven, going a little different this week. I'm putting DeAndre Levy on the X Factor pedestal here. I think he's going to be huge. He is so important to all phases of that defense, whether it's the running game, which obviously they can shut off pretty well, but the screens, which Green Bay likes to run a few screens here and there, just like every team in the NFL, and also the pass. He's been just key to everything, whether it's roaming the middle or, like I said, making sure or matching up one-on-one with running backs and keeping them under control. DeAndre Levy, to me, is going to be the key to this ball game.
All right, you got your Bonita alongside you?
Oh, wow. Yes, I do.
I'm going with Ezekiel Ansah for my X Factor. We saw what he can do this week. We've seen it a couple times this year. We haven't seen it consistently. Can Ezekiel Ansah put it together on back-to-back games and step up big when we need this pass rush? We need to see these guys getting in the quarterback's face. We know we're going to shut down the run. I said we shouldn't just expect it, but we do. Let's face facts. We know the pass or the run defense is going to be there. Can the pass defense follow suit? Our secondary sucks. Let's just be honest about that. We have the potential for a pass rush. We saw it this week. Ezekiel Ansah show up back-to-back games. You're our X factor. If you're getting to the quarterback, good things are happening for this defense, and our secondary isn't in positions where we need them to make plays. Because they're not going to. Ansah, make the plays.
I love it. I love everything about it.
Yep.
I've now decided to retroactively, or to change my X Factor pick. I am also going with Ziggy Ansah. Well, because the fact that you picked him before I did makes me feel really bad about myself. But to something that makes me feel really good about myself, I'm going for my bold prediction. The Lions are going to hold Eddie Lacy and that tough Green Bay offense to less than 50 yards rushing. This is not a fluke. This defense does shut down the run. They've done it all year, save for a few runs, a couple of runs at the beginning of the season. You are probably looking at the number one rushing defense in the country. They are that good. I think they're going to show it on the national stage. They're going to put, hopefully, Matt Flynn, instead of Aaron Rodgers, in a lot of third and long situations, setting up your boy, apparently now, Ezekiel Ansah, to become that X Factor he needs to be. Less than 50 yards rushing this week for the Green Bay Packers. For the listeners that tune in every week, I would imagine they're a little bit more shot happy this time around. We've been using Ansah's name, shot, quite a bit more in this program, so enjoy the tequila, folks. But yeah, my bold prediction plays off the same thing you did, and I'm going with Eddie Lacy is going to get at least 80 yards and a touchdown. And if people think that contradicts what I just said about our rush defense being there, 80 yards isn't that many, folks. But Detroit is just simply not allowing anyone to get any traction on the ground. They're not allowing 50-yard rushers. So I think we still keep them under 100 yards, but 80 yards and a touchdown for Eddie Lacy, who's been phenomenal in recent weeks, I don't think is a stretch of the imagination. I think Green Bay is committed to the ground game, and especially if they have Flynn in there, they're going to lean on Lacy. I think he gets plenty of carries. I'll say 80 yards. I'm not saying that he's going to have 5 or 6 yards a carry,
But I think they're going to give the rock to the Alabama product enough that he gets 80 yards and a touchdown. It seems somewhat bold because of what Detroit's been doing against the run lately. And frankly, I've had like 3 bold predictions go wrong in a row, so I'm going to try for a bit safer one and see what happens with that.
I don't think I've had a bold prediction go right all year, so I'm not really one to talk here. But there is, I think we can all sense from the general feeling of the show and between the two different co-hosts here which way we're leaning. I'm actually still on board. I think Detroit is still going to finish this season strong because it's turnovers. It's things that can be fixed. They would have won, probably 2 more games at least if they would just hold on to the ball. Probably even 3 or 4. But that's not the point. The point is that it's going to be a point of emphasis this week. Detroit can move the ball against Green Bay. I'm going to say right now I'm kind of banking on not having Aaron Rodgers in the lineup as we don't really have a word this early in the week. 28-14 this week, Detroit wins the ball game. Breaks that 10-year streak.
Yeah, well, Brandon, I've poured my Kool-Aid down the sink this week. I'm not on board. I'm not. After what I saw against Tampa Bay, no. I think Green Bay 31-21 at our place. Give me the Packers. I took them earlier in the year. I think we both did, and we were right then. I think Green Bay beats us again. Detroit is not, I don't see the passion. I didn't see it against Tampa Bay. I didn't see the want, the need to win that game. And I don't know if they're going to have it on Thanksgiving. I hope they do. I hope they come out and they thrash Green Bay. I just don't think it happens. And that's why my confidence meter, I hate to even say this because I love the Detroit Lions. My confidence meter's at a 2. I don't know how.
Wow.
Have confidence in this football team that just lost 2 games to teams with losing records. This division was yours to take. Cutler and Rodgers are hurt. Take those 2 games and run away with this division. They chose not to, and I'm choosing to not have any confidence in this team. They burned me one too many times.
Well, Nick, it sounds like you need a vacation. Personally,
I do. I need to go to Riverview or wherever.
Personally, I'm not throwing the baby out with the Kool-Aid. I'm sticking next to Detroit. I'm going to go ahead, but I'm also not going all in. I haven't had that much Kool-Aid yet today, although as soon as this show hangs up, I'm going straight to the bar. I am going to go ahead and put them at a 6. I still have faith. They still move the ball. It's things that can be fixed. It's holding on to the rock. It's making a couple better reads by Stafford. Obviously, the whole inches speech, the different any given Sunday. And I think I saw on Bleacher Report today that there's some way that you can show that every team is basically beat every team. That's the way the NFL works. So it always comes down to those couple key plays. Detroit can make those plays. We've seen them do it before. I think they're going to do it again. I'm sticking at a 6. And with that, folks, we're wrapping up another show here. We want to thank you for sticking with us this week through all the technical difficulties, different countries, storms raging throughout the U.S. These things can have an effect from time to time. We're excited next week since we'll be doing our video show, like as Nick said earlier, at youtube.com/Pro Football Central. We're excited about it. Hopefully you're excited about it. So excited that you'll want to go ahead and tell a friend about this show. We want to keep growing it. We're excited about where this show started. We're even more excited about where it's gone. We think that we know that we are putting out some good content because you guys are giving us great feedback on Facebook and Twitter. And you can find us at Facebook, Lions Central Radio, and also Twitter, Lions Central PFC. Thanks, folks. Keep supporting us. Keep getting the word out there, and we'll keep coming back every week regardless of where we are.
And if we could also quickly congratulate at King of the Hill 21 on Twitter. He won the Fathead PFC contest, so he's a big Lions fan. We want to give a quick shout-out to him. And if we could also let the listeners know, we've got the shop up on pfcshirts.com. There's Lions Central Radio shirts available there for sale. Just a little bit of self-serving there for you guys. And we want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We love you guys. We're excited to talk to you again next week. Hopefully, I don't think it's going to happen, but hopefully after a big Lions win. For Brandon Olisaglu and his Mexican vacation, I am Nick Castora. Thank you so much for listening, folks.